tensions between Israel and Palestine continue to escalate. The Israeli army reported 5 rockets crossing from Lebanon, with some intercepted and others found in Israeli territory. No injuries were reported. In Gaza, Israeli attacks killed at least 3 people near a hospital and 1 person in a residential apartment, with several children among the wounded. Israeli forces are also paving a road along the Philadelphia corridor in southern Gaza, a contentious issue in ceasefire negotiations. In the West Bank, Israeli soldiers stormed the 𝐃𝐚𝐰𝐬 refugee camp, leading to armed clashes. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant urged the military to use its full strength against Palestinian fighters. Since August 28, at least 35 Palestinians, including children, have been killed in Israeli airstrikes and ground operations. Meanwhile, families of U.S. hostages held by Hamas are pushing for a unilateral deal with Hamas, bypassing Israel. Discussions are underway within the Biden administration. In the U.S., universities are increasing security measures ahead of the fall semester due to pro-Palestinian protests. The conflict has resulted in significant casualties, with at least 40,861 people killed and 94,398 wounded in Israel's war on Gaza, and 1,139 people killed in Israel in Hamas-led attacks on October 7. In a press briefing, Inter-Services Public Relations (ISPR) spokesperson said that the court-martial proceedings against former Spymaster Lieutenant General (RETD) Faiz Hamid were initiated based on concrete evidence following a detailed probe.
لیفٹیننٹ جنرل ریٹائرڈ فیض حمید کیس کے حوالے سے اگر بات کی جائے تو ٹاپ سٹی کیس میں ریٹائرڈ آفیسر کے خلاف باضابطہ طور پر درخواست موصول ہوئی۔ پاک فوج کے نظام احتساب پر مکمل اعتماد رکھتے ہوئے یہ معاملہ منسٹری آف ڈیفنس کے ذریعے پاکستان فوج کو بھجوایا گیا۔ اپریل 2024 میں پاک فوج کی طرف سے ایک اعلیٰ سطح کی کورٹ آف انکوائری کا حکم دیا گیا تاکہ اس کیس کی مکمل تحقیقات کی جا سکے۔ ٹھوس شواہد پر مبنی تفصیلی انکوائری مکمل ہونے کے بعد 12 اگست 2024 کو پاکستان آرمی نے باضابطہ طور پر آگاہ کیا کہ متعلقہ ریٹائرڈ آفیسر نے پاکستان آرمی ایکٹ کی دفعات کی خلاف ورزیاں کی ہیں، اور یہ کہ متعلقہ ریٹائرڈ آفیسر کے حوالے سے ریٹائرمنٹ کے بعد پاکستان آرمی ایکٹ کی خلاف ورزی کے متعدد واقعات بھی سامنے آئے ہیں۔ ان بنیادوں پر فیلڈ جنرل کورٹ مارشل کی کارروائی کا آغاز کیا جا چکا ہے۔
In a 48-minute media briefing, the DG ISPR spoke about Gen Faiz's court-martial as an example of the military's self-accountability, military operations in the wake of the deadly August 26th attacks in Baluchistan and Pakistan-Afghanistan ties, among other issues.
کہ 25-26 اگست کی رات دہشت گردوں نے بلوچستان میں متعدد گھنونی دہشت گردانہ کارروائیاں کی۔ یہ کارروائیاں اندرون اور بیرون ملک دشمنوں اور ان کے سہولت کاروں کی ایما پر کی گئی، جس کا مقصد معصوم اور بے گناہ افراد کو نشانہ بنا کر بلوچستان کے پرامن ماحول اور ترقی کو متاثر کرنا ہے۔ سیکیورٹی فورسز اور قانون نافذ کرنے والے اداروں نے جوابی کارروائی کرتے ہوئے کلیئرنس آپریشنز کے ذریعے 21 دہشت گردوں کو جہنم واصل کیا۔ ان آپریشنز کے دوران عوام کی جان کی حفاظت کرتے ہوئے سیکیورٹی فورسز اور قانون نافذ کرنے والے اداروں کے 14 سپوتوں نے جام شہادت نوش کیا۔
Addressing the press conference in Rawalpindi, ISPR Director General, DG, Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif Chaudhry said the Pakistan Army had no political agenda as it believed in self-accountability.
خواتین و حضرات، یہ سمجھنا انتہائی ضروری ہے کہ پاکستان آرمی ایک قومی فوج ہے اور اس کا کوئی سیاسی ایجنڈا نہیں ہے، نہ ہی یہ کسی سیاسی جماعت کی مخالف ہے اور نہ ہی طرفدار۔ فوج کا ہر حکومت کے ساتھ پیشہ وارانہ اور سرکاری تعلق ہوتا ہے، جس کو آئین اور قانون کے قواعد و ضوابط میں مناسب طور پر بیان کیا گیا ہے۔ یہ بات جاننا اہم ہے کہ اگر فوج میں کوئی شخص اپنے ذاتی مفادات کے حصول کے لیے کام کرتا ہے یا اپنے ذاتی فائدے کے لیے کسی ایک مخصوص سیاسی ایجنڈے کو پروان چڑھاتا ہے تو پاک فوج کا خود احتسابی کا نظام حرکت میں آ جاتا ہے۔
Meanwhile, Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar met with UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy in London, discussed bilateral relations. Dar emphasized the importance of a strong Pakistan-UK partnership, promoting regional peace and stability. They reviewed bilateral relations and discussed regional issues, including climate change, youth opportunities, trade, and investment. In other news, Pakistan's government planned to introduce a blended gas pricing mechanism, merging LNG, wellhead, and pipeline gas prices to reduce power rates and create a level playing field for all consumers. Minister for Petroleum Dr. Musaddiq Malik announced this, citing issues with the current ring-fenced LNG pricing.
The equivalent of a transformer in gas sector is TBS, town-based metering system. So right now, we are putting meters at every TBS, which means we are putting a meter at anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 households. There's the equivalent of a transformer from where all of the gas goes. We have basically put meters there. We're breaking down the profit and loss statement at the TBS level. And an officer is going to be appointed who's going to give us the profit and loss statement for 3,000 households. He is or she is going to be responsible for fixing the lines, for fixing the theft, for enhancing the collections, and if they're not able to do that, they'll be removed.
He also discussed a potential $10 billion greenfield refinery project and the 𝐒𝐭𝐨𝐫𝐢𝐞 investment deal. He ruled out a gas price increase and mentioned plans to attract investment for a greenfield refinery and transition to electrification. Thousands of Indians marched through Kolkata's streets, demanding justice for a 31-year-old doctor who was brutally raped and murdered. The crime has sparked nationwide outrage and protests across India, with many calling for greater safety measures to protect women. The protests, which drew 100,000 people in Kolkata, were largely peaceful, but some clashes broke out between protesters and supporters of the ruling party. Similar rallies were held in New Delhi. India's Supreme Court has ordered a national task force to boost security for healthcare workers following the shocking killing. The crime has drawn comparisons to a similar case in Delhi in 2012 and highlights India's ongoing struggle with violence against women. Protesters chanted, "We want justice," and held candles and signs reading, "Let there be light, let there be justice." The Indian government has faced criticism for its handling of the investigation in a new law that could lead to the execution of rapists. Protesters say the law is a populist sham. Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Ukraine's incursion in Russia's Kursk region aimed to slow Russia's advance in Donbass, but failed. Speaking at the Eastern Economic Forum, Putin said capturing Donbass is Moscow's main objective in the war. He claimed Ukraine's move weakened its forces along the front, but did not stop Russia's offensive. Putin asserted that Russia's primary objective, liberating Donbass, remains on track despite Ukraine's efforts to disrupt their progress. Russian forces, controlling 18% of Ukraine, continue advancing in eastern Ukraine after Kyiv's 2023 counteroffensive failed to achieve a breakthrough. Although the Kremlin said that the conditions for peace talks with Ukraine do not currently exist, Putin named China, India, and Brazil as potential mediators and repeated his view that an initial agreement reached in the first weeks of the war at talks in Istanbul, which was never implemented, could serve as a basis for talks. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warned the U.S. not to cross Russia's red lines by supplying long-range missiles to Ukraine. He stated that the U.S. is losing sight of mutual deterrence, which is dangerous. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has already announced a government reshuffle to bring new energy to the government amid increased military aid from the West.